All right, welcome back. Joined now by the Superintendent of Lafourche Parish, Mr. Jarod Martin. And Mr. Martin, thank you so much for joining us. How are you today?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Good. Give us an update. I know things are fluid in the school system, and give us an update if you can, and maybe answer some of the questions that you're getting.
Yeah, absolutely. So we continue to make a lot of progress. We've been able to really get our Thibodeau area schools largely up and online and back on the grid, as it were, off of generator power and on to shore power. As a result, we're doing air sampling and making sure that the buildings are ready, but we feel confident that September 27th, all of the Thibodeau area schools are going to be back in session. So we plan to have the principals and the custodians there on or around the 20th, with the teachers a couple days after that, and then school starting on the 27th. Central Lafourche and its schools are going to be a week behind then, and then the South Lafourche area schools are going to be about 2 weeks behind that, with the opening of South Lafourche and its schools on or about the 13th, but it could be as late as the 20th. The South Lafourche area schools are immensely more complicated to get back up and running because we're going to have to remove some ceiling tiles in a number of classrooms, frankly, tens and maybe hundreds of classrooms. Also some sheetrock work and other stuff that's going to have to get done. But we feel pretty good about getting the schools back up and running by the middle part of October for the South Lafourche area. And we're frustrated that I can't get every kid back on campus, on the high school campus, specifically in South Lafourche by October, but we feel pretty confident that we can get at least half the students on campus each day, so that every kid would go every other day until we make more permanent repairs throughout South Lafourche High School.
Let me ask you this question, because some people were asking me yesterday. I said, well, I'll ask somebody who might know the answer, and maybe you will and maybe you won't, but some people have moved their children to other schools, and then they found out, wait, we're going to be open here, but the other kids enrolled in sports at the other schools. Are they going to be penalized by the LHSAA if they just say, okay, we moved too fast, we're coming back, or will the LHSAA give them a little grace for being in a catastrophe, so to speak?
Yeah, so my understanding, and I want to emphasize those words, my understanding, because the LHSAA is a private entity that is run by the aggregate of all the high schools. But when a student moves and there's a bona fide move, there's no issue there. There's also provisions that allow for exceptions to policy, right, where you just say, look, we know what the rules are, we know why the rules are there, but clearly this thing is bigger than somebody transferring for athletic reasons, right? Because the rules in the LHSA, they're all designed to prevent recruiting and frankly, cheating amongst the high schools. Well, nobody that lives in Galliano that found himself in Broussard, that enrolled in a Broussard school, did it because for athletic reasons, right? We know that to be true. So I will tell you that if, in fact, any of our athletes are penalized because they're returning, I will certainly be on the phone with Mr. Eddie Bonan pleading the case of these students, because they should not be.
And I'm glad to hear that, because I got that question fielded to me a lot off air yesterday, and I said, I got to ask somebody about this. And you're right. I know it's your understanding, and we'll leave it at that, because we've seen them do some different things. But I agree with you. I don't think they can penalize somebody for just really trying to. And some people didn't have places to live, so a lot of that had to do with living. But looking forward, are you encouraged?
That is correct. That is correct. And I also say that even though they may have moved and maybe enrolled in another school, that it would be on such a temporary basis. And again, in my conversations with Mr. Eddie Bonan, he has been extremely understanding and always, in my opinion, historically, has erred on the side of allowing students to play.
All right, that's fantastic. What I hear some optimism in your voice, and I mean, not that you didn't have it, but I hear it a lot today.
Yeah, well, we're making a lot of progress. I walked South Lafourche High School yesterday, and there are some classrooms that If I took a picture of it and said, hey, I'm going to have kids in here in 25 or 26 days, you'd say, Jarod, I don't know. But I've got confidence in the team of people that we've got hired to do all of this work, and I've seen how quickly they are able to move. And our buildings are constructed in a way that you can actually change out the drop ceiling, the sheetrock, and all of those things that go with it pretty quickly. So in a worst-case scenario, if I've got to delay the opening of South Lafourche High School by just a little bit, I'm extraordinarily confident that it will be only by a little bit. And we still feel pretty good about the date that we put on the wall in that window between October 13th and October 20th.
All right, appreciate it. We've got about a minute left. Will that push, as you stagger the schools, will each school have to stay a little bit longer at school?
That's a really good question. And what we are about to push out is the calendars associated with each of the three regions. And the short answer to your question is yes, each of the three regions will have a different calendar. And yes, each of the three regions they are going to lose some holiday days, and it's going to extend the school year. It'll be a combination of both.
Well, we appreciate the candidness, and it's sort of like COVID in a different kind of arena. We've learned how to adjust, but thank you, and I appreciate the efforts you're making, and I appreciate the information. It's so vital to people hearing these things, and thank you for your enthusiasm, because that goes a long way.
Absolutely. Thank you, Martin. Have a good day.
All right, there you have it. Mr. Jarod Martin, the superintendent of Lafourche Parish Schools, and you heard of all the people calling me about athletics and would your child be penalized. I think he answered that beautifully, and it's his understanding. That's different state agency, a private agency, but I would agree with him. We'll be back with more. Don't go away.